Welcome to Green and Red, scrappy politics for scrappy people. A regular podcast on radical, environmental and anti-capitalist politics. Brought to you by Bob Bazanko and Scott Parkin.
Welcome to the Silky Smooth Sounds of the Green and Red podcast. I'm your co-host, Scott Parkin in Berkeley, California. Today, Bob is off on assignment, but we'll be back with us soon. Today, we're going to be talking about Los Angeles and everything that's been going on in Los Angeles, the ministry protests, the ICE raids, the National Guard being federalized, the Marines being on the street. And to talk about this with me today is Estuardo Mazariegos, who is an organizer and co-director of ACE LA, and ACE is the Alliance for Californians for Community Empowerment. Estuardo, welcome to the Green and Red podcast.
Welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. Then maybe we'll do a little background and then maybe we can get into some current events as of today. But could you actually, just over the last probably week or so, can you just talk about what provoked everything that we're seeing happen, right?
Yeah, of course. So I think you hit it on the head. About a week ago, the city was in peace. We were all living our life, going day to day, working our jobs, picking up our kids, having our fun. Starting in Friday morning, our neighborhoods, our community, our city, and our region has been under siege by the federal government. ICE agents started raiding Friday morning at multiple locations in the Garment District here in Los Angeles and different neighborhoods throughout LA City, picking up almost warrantless, undocumented workers, or so they claim. And yeah, they have been picking folks up. Immediately, Los Angeles is a highly organized community that has a long tradition of organizing and resisting and defending our neighbors and our neighborhoods and our families and friends. Mobilized, went into action and started spreading the word. There was a couple flashpoints in downtown LA where folks came to observe what was occurring, to demand the release of the kidnapped people by ICE, and to stop any other of our families, friends, and people in the community being kidnapped. Immediately, it was all done in peace as well. Folks came in peace. Folks came straight from work for meetings, from their morning routine, with coffee in hand probably, showed up. And immediately when our people showed up, we saw an immediate response and escalation from the federal agents who were already highly militarized, and it devolved from there. The federal agents started really instigating and antagonizing our people. One of the highlights that occurred in those instances was the president of SEIU California and SEIU USWW, David Huerta, was unjustly detained, knocked down, hurt and injured, and held in captivity throughout the weekend, which mobilized our entire labor community here and culminated on Monday with a massive march and rally. But throughout the weekend, groups of people gathering in downtown LA demanding the release of our people peacefully, always show up with flowers and guitars. And every time we gather and congregate, the same response has been occurring from the federal agents in our city that are here unwelcomed by everybody from the community to elected officials. And they continue to escalate, shoot rubber bullets into crowds, shoot tear gas in residential neighborhoods. On Friday, my family came out to join me in the streets, and I had to get my family out of there. I have a 4-year-old daughter and my partner, and there was tear gas in there, and I didn't want my baby to be exposed to that tear gas, so we backed out. She started coughing. My baby started coughing immediately. It wasn't bad, but still, imagine it's a hot day in Los Angeles. You want to have your windows up and open, and bam, you get tear gas in your living room. And that's what our people have been facing throughout LA County. And definitely, it feels like this is just an escalation, and we're here living in peace, and we're here loving our people. And yeah.
And where a lot of at least the Trump's response has been some of the protests that happened at the federal building where they've been holding people which I think, at least on Friday when some of this really cleared up, was over 100 people. But a lot of the resistance we also see are in communities when ICE is raiding like Home Depot or other workplaces, the garment industry. And where the resistance we're seeing there, are those organized protests, or are those just people who happen to be there who are like interfering with the ICE operations or whatever they call them?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. There's folks that are highly organized that show up. We have rapid response teams that are showing up to de-escalate situations to ensure our people are safe. And then, of course, look, Los Angeles County is a county of 12 or 13 million people.
It's huge.
It's gigantic, yeah. And
Yeah.
LA City by itself is about 4 to 5 million people. Vast majority, everybody knows somebody that is impacted by this, undocumented. Everybody, me, myself, formerly, I'm a formerly undocumented immigrant myself, and I have so many folks around me in my neighborhood. So we all have this instinct. We're all, even though there's 12 million people, we're all pretty much connected to each other. We all, like, it is a big place, but somehow, some way, it feels like a small town because we all love our neighborhoods. We all love our community, our cultures, etc. So I think people just show up, and you don't have to be organized. There's like people literally coming out of their doors, out of their homes to go and observe, confront, and defend the community, always in a peaceful manner. And yes, so it is a mixed bag. It's folks that are showing up organized and mobilized with organizations and formations and all of that. But then there's like just people showing up because we're not going to take this as a city. We're not going to take this as a region.
And just definitely the rhetoric from the White House and all his minions or whatever are definitely targeting Gavin Newsom and targeting Karen Bass, and as well as the community members who are turning out to protest and resist and stop ICE abductions. But there's this element where I've been seeing a lot of video of, right, where the LA sheriffs and the LAPD are actually still confronting protesters and in some cases aiding ICE operations, even though Karen Bass is telling them not to. And I'm curious about how that dynamic is actually playing out in reality, because where you're getting from media and social media, but I'd like to hear that from street organizers.
Yeah, of course. Like LA City just created a stronger sanctuary city ordinance in the city of Los Angeles. LA County, the state of California, is a sanctuary state. I think ultimately they elected leadership from their position. I have to say local Democrats have been effective in calling this for what it is, which is a federal government turning its military on its own people. And they've been effective in calling for peaceful protests. They've been effective in trying to disconnect our local law enforcement from collaborating with ICE. Now, from what I've seen on the ground, is definitely doesn't match what's being said on TV. I think there has to be some level of accountability with the LAPD. Look, LA has, over the last year, have gone through a lot with the fires, and then there's an ongoing budget crisis that we have in the city of Los Angeles, a large due to LAPD misconduct and brutalization of community. We constantly have to pay out as a city hundreds of millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars a year to victims of LAPD brutalization. So there has to be some accountability to that regard. And there was a choice that was made earlier to the new LAPD Chief McDonald came in, and he's somebody that is not aligned with a lot of our values. So there is a question to that. But overall, I would say that local elected officials have done what they can from their position. They do need to hold accountability on LAPD. I would say that much. But they're also ensuring that communities are being connected to resources, that communities that also look, the narrative side of this, like you said, there's a lot of misconception. 99.9% of the protests and marches that are going on are all peaceful. Very little has really occurred. And every time there's an escalation, it starts from the side of the federal government and the ICE agents, the National Guard, and followed up by, unfortunately, the LAPD. So yeah, there has to be some level of accountability. But overall, I think at this point, what I was saying is with the narrative part of it too is they've been also the loudest voice declaring that, because they have that stage saying, hey, this has mostly been peaceful. We don't need the federal agents here. It's all been peaceful. So to that regard, I think as best as they can from their position, they've been doing what they can. We have been doing what we can. And this isn't new for Los Angeles. Unfortunately, we've been going through an incredibly tough year, and we're all pulling our weight as best as we can right now as a community. Right now, we're all Angelinos.
The other development that I've seen, I think, just in the last day or so is now this federalized National Guard are actually having to go and do operations with ICE. They're not just guarding federal buildings or anything like that. And then I also, my understanding is that they're also trying to get, so the Marines, the Marine battalion, which is there, can also make arrests if they need to. And I'm wondering if what you're seeing from the streets around that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that all of this is there's a basic dynamic for whatever awful reason. The president is trying to terrorize and inflame Los Angeles, and our local leaders have been effective in urgent restraint. On the ground, I would say that folks are ready to defend their communities and ready to stand up to bullies with guns. Unfortunately, it's fellow Californians. And again, and it's all being done in a peaceful manner. We're showing up. Like yesterday, there was a group of clergy that led an interfaith prayer, and they led a group of about 700 people down to the federal court building in downtown Los Angeles to pray together in front of the military, in front of the California Guard. So and all of this in peace. The day before that, it was the same thing. It was like hundreds of people gathered together, singing, dancing, and mobilizing to demand the release of our people. So I think Los Angeles, unfortunately, knows what to do in these moments. A lot of our people come from struggle. A lot of our people come from places that have experienced this. Me, myself, as a former refugee from Guatemala, born in the middle of a civil war and genocide, along with many other of my neighbors, Salvadorians, Nicaraguans, Honduranian folks, that have been displaced because of civil unrest in our own countries, know exactly what this is about and know exactly what to do. And that's what we're doing, is peacefully demonstrating, peacefully defending our community, and peacefully demanding that we are treated with dignity and respect, and that people do not come into our neighborhoods to kidnap our people. It's a majority immigrant city, and if they think we're going to be quiet, they got another thing coming.
I just have a couple more questions and I'll let you go because I know you're busy and you have a lot going on. The other thing we've seen is like an escalation on press. And the one video that was widely circulated was the Australian journalist who got shot by a rubber bullet from an LAPD cop. But just in general, how the press is not always our friends in these moments. And how would you say that the press has been responding to the violence, the state violence?
Yeah. In terms of how the press, I think getting these type of narratives out, so these conversations, is super important. Look, I had an experience yesterday with a journalist from the Wall Street Journal that was looking for a quote and looking for some response from somebody on the ground. Same thing, trying to sensationalize the situation.
You can send the link to this video, the Green and Red podcast, once it's up.
Yeah, I'll show them out. I'll do that. Yeah, and just basically, I had to really reiterate, we're in peace. We're showing up with flowers and guitars and songs. We're sent multiple videos of our people dancing and being joyful in the streets and joyful resistance. So the press overall, owned obviously by the people that are benefiting from the chaos that's being sold by the billionaire class right now, is, doing what they do. They're going to sensationalize something because that's what sells. But they aren't really asking the people that are engaged at the deepest levels about what is exactly happening. But I've seen already like a turn on that. I've seen multiple stories from alternative press outlets like Democracy Now! Being a little more on point with the messaging. Also, I've seen like the local media really starting to identify that the true aggressors in this instance have been the federal agents. Like the LA Times surprisingly came out with a statement yesterday declaring that in most instances, the aggressors have been the federal agents, etc. So I feel like the tide is turning, but I think the media has an No, not an understandable, but the media has an incentive to broadcast the sexiest image with the most drama and conflict in it. And honestly, it doesn't capture what is happening on the street, which is families coming together in peace, demanding the release of our people and to get ICE out of LA because they're not welcomed here.
My last question, and then I'll let you go, is that one, we've been seeing this ICE escalation happening all over the country. And then last night, yesterday, after we saw the escalation over the weekend in LA, there's solidarity marches everywhere. And you're just watching video from the biggest cities in the country, besides LA, New York and Chicago and Philly and the Bay Area. And there's like people marching in solidarity. People also are like really being confrontational with ICE at workplaces or federal courthouses is a big target for ICE for immigration court. And I'm just wondering what your asker would be to like people who are acting in solidarity.
I would say stay organized, stay coordinated, center the people that are truly being impacted by all of this, undocumented folks. Make sure that we are doing all that we can to protect our people. Don't give in. Don't quit. We're all in this right now. It is Los Angeles, and this is just the start. Know that if they're able to intimidate Los Angeles, which is one of the highest percentages, if not the highest percentage of undocumented people, there's like 1 million undocumented people that live in LA County.
Yeah.
They know if they could do this to us, they could do it to anybody. We're not going to let it happen. So the biggest thing is just stay in solidarity, stay in the streets, stay organized, stay coordinated, center the people that are most exposed or at risk in these moments and help them, ensure that it's their voices leading this, and ensure that ultimately that we're doing this as peacefully as possible, because what they want is a reaction from us and we can't give it to them. And that takes a lot of discipline, because trust me, I've been mad.
Yeah.
But don't give into that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people wouldn't feel that. I think those are wise words. I'm going to wrap it there. Folks, we've been talking with Estuardo Mazariegos, sorry, who is a co-director at ACE, the Alliance for Californians for Community Empowerment in Los Angeles, out in the streets every day, helping bring a lot of attention to what's going on. Really appreciate you coming in and taking time out of your this very busy time to join me. Folks, if you like what you hear, and please check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to an audio platform, give us a rate and review. And then if you really like us, go to greenredpodcast.org. That support button and become a patron at patreon.com/greenredpodcast. And we'll talk to you later. And if you have anything you want to ever talk to us about, feel free to hit me up and we can do another show. We're happy to do that.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate you, and thank you for getting the word out. And yeah, hopefully this penetrates the wider conversation and really starts changing that narrative part of the battle, because we're in peace. We love our community. We will defend our community, and we're doing it with love and joy.
And everybody listening out there, go out and make trouble and misbehave, because that's what we really need right now. So talk to y'all later.